Before I call upon the distinguished speakers, let me briefly tell you what's happening next few days in MMA. Before that, let me warmly welcome all the viewers who have joined this program online. As usual, if you have any questions, the number flashed on your screen, please share your questions. The distinguished speakers and the panel have agreed to respond to all your questions, and we'll be delighted to place it before them. And only request is please address your questions what is relevant to the theme today. That will make our job very straight and simple. And also all the invitees, Mr. Anand Krishnan, the family members, the invitees, very warm welcome to each one of you. It's indeed a pleasure to have you with us this evening at MMA, and I'm quite sure we'll continue to visit MMA and make best use of our facilities, what is available here. And let me tell you, before I'll further brief you about MMA, let me tell you what's happening in MMA next few days. Next event is happening on 5th of April, discussion on the book Sustainability, Why ESG is Not Enough. You know, ESG is one subject which is widely discussed world over, especially in European Union. I think if you have to do business with the European Union, you better understand this concept and implement in your organization. We have got one of the finest individual in the field of ESG, Ms Radha Krishnan. He is author, CEO, is from Stewardship Asia Center. He is going to be there with us. Along with them, 3 outstanding panelists, including Balachandar, Anju, Mary, and Shivakumar will be joining us. This is happening on 5th of April. Then on 30th of April, again, very interesting event. We are having a S. Muthiah Memorial Lecture. The theme is Life of a Writer Exploring Beyond the Book, actually. We got another wonderful author, writer, and great screen personality, Mr. Sri Kumar Verma, writer, poet, teacher, very great personality. And another interesting connect of Sri Kumar Verma is Raja Ravi Verma, who is greatest artist. You must have seen that Saraswati, Lakshmi pictures all over our place, and especially you would have seen more in your puja room. His grandson is Mr. Verma, and he's going to be talking to us from the royal family, what made him choose the subject, what he chose, and how he really enjoyed writing and creativity, how he wanted to create. This is what is happening on 13th of April. Then on 18th of April, we have Read and Grow. To sell is human. And this is a subject which we'll be discussing. Again, we have lined up a very good panel. Then on 25th of April, we have a seminar on arbitration in the age of globalization, navigating cross-border disputes in India's business landscape. When we globalize, our businesses go all over the world. We do have a dispute. Now, when you get to disputes, yes, earlier and all, ECG is easy to really give guarantee and somehow recover. But when you have a major dispute, it will be going to be a great serious. So we want to tell the businesses and our people how this arbitration is going. And Singapore is one place which has done exceedingly well in terms of international arbitration. They have done some phenomenal work. Why Singapore is doing so well, and what is that they are doing which is not with us, going to be discussed. We got excellent set of panel. Justice Rama Subramanian, he is a former judge of Supreme Court of India, very well respected. He is going to be delivering the keynote address. We got Janil Bandari, Arvind Proton, Ganesh Chandru from Dua Associates, and Srikan Navale will be talking to us. This is happening from 6 to 8 o'clock on 25th of April at MMA, and this is also webcast live. You can come there and watch, or also can watch it from your own home comfort. On 30th April, again, we have an event on Ad War, Make Competition Healthy. This is one thing which we want to really make our members also be aware of what you do not get carried away by the ads. You know, recent Supreme Court judgment which came heavily on the company which misled the people in terms of their ads, and they are made to apologize. I don't want to take the name. You know the company very well. So we have an outstanding panel who is going to be coming and discussing this. We have got Manisha Kapoor. She is CEO of Advanced Strategies for Council for Advertising Standard Council of India. We are getting the people who really manage the entire system in India. She's going to be coming and talking to us. We're getting Ilango, he's from FCB Group, Ulka. We're getting an outstanding panel to come and tell us how you can really manage and how you can get the concept of under promise and over deliver, and how many of our business people, not only for the business, many of us doing small thing, post something in Instagram, in some Facebook, LinkedIn, you have to be very, very careful. So how you can really learn, and this is one event I tell you. So I will close it with that. We have a number of events also lined up, much more. Coming to today's event, it's a very, very interesting event. You are going to be closely connected to this thing because this must happen in everybody's life. Before that, let me warmly welcome all the students, all the members of MMA, and all the people watching live, and as usual, family of Mr. Anand. Anand, thank you for choosing MMA to come and do this event with us. A pleasure to have you with your family, your son, your grandson. Very active grandson. He's there. He's not just interested looking at the phone. Don't worry, my son, many members also do this only. Don't worry. Very warm welcome to each one of you. And as usual, the event initially we'll have opening remarks followed by the author. We'll request Ms. Krishnan to come and speak, and thereafter there will be a panel led by the moderator. And I will briefly introduce all the panelists and the moderator soon. Before that, let me briefly tell you what about MMA. MMA is established in 1956. We have over 8,000 members. We do some 750 events in a year because a lot of new guests have come. And we are declared as #1 management association in India for the last 14 years in a row. We are #1. And thank you. All this has been possible only because of the great support of MMA and all the viewers watching this program in thousands. You are the adrenaline which really pumps us to bring the best in us. Thank you so much. Now, coming to today's evening, as I mentioned to you, the topic is leading through adversity, management and leadership principles in high-stake challenges. The topic looks so complex. It's not that complex. We are going to be talking about what will happen to your personal life. Something happens to you, how you are going to come out. And the person who has experienced it, she is going to be talking to us. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together. Welcome the distinguished speakers for this evening. Ms Radha Krishnan, author of the book. And Dr. Jose is a director of medical oncology, is from Apollo Proton Hospital. Mr. Anand Krishnan, founder of Fidelisworld. And also we have Mrs. Rugmani Prabhakar, mediation teacher, writer, poet. She will be moderating the session. May I request you please take your place on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to our distinguished panel for this evening. Come, Mr. Rugmani. Yeah. Come, doctor. Before I proceed further, let me have the pleasant duty to do this evening is to launch the book that is Pendulum Between Life and Life. And this book is authored by Ms. Radha Krishnan. And now I tell you why she wrote the book. She is going to be talking to us. I want to keep it only for her to share what made her write this book. And she's going to share some phenomenal amount of inputs, which I'm quite sure will be very, very useful to most of us. Before that, I'll request the distinguished dignitaries to step forward. Let's do the honor of releasing this book as a formal launch of the book. Can you come here? As I mentioned, the format of the program, if you have any questions in the audience, the question scripts are available, you can forward it to us. Now it's my privilege to formally introduce Ms. Radha Krishnan, author. Radha is a resilient mother from Dubai, shares her story of hope and courage in her book and detailing a journey that tested her and her son's strength to a limit. A devoted family woman, she resides with her loved ones, including her grandson, Kavir, and her beloved dog, Laddu. I think the dog is missing today. Maybe next time we will bring them back. Known for the kindness and helpfulness. Radha is an integral part of our community. Apart from writing, she enjoys family time, traveling, golf, then also exploring diverse cuisine, embodying philosophy positively and gratitude in every moment of her life. And before I request Mr. Radha to come and share thoughts on the write the book, let me also introduce the other distinguished panelists so that without a break the program can continue. Now, Dr. Jose is a you got medical, you got all the so many degrees and things. AV in intensive medical, AV in medical oncology. He's the director of medical oncology and also BMT cellular therapy at Apollo Proton Cancer Institute, Chennai. With extensive training in USA, he is renowned for his expertise in treating cancer and blood disorders. Dr. Jose is recognized for his compassionate patient care and dedication to research, having contributed significantly to the advancement of the stem cell transplantation in India, including the first successful unrelated transplant in 2007, pioneering a total bone marrow irradiation in 2019. Very warm welcome, Doctor. It's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. Then we also have Mr. Anand S. Krishnan, the family who stood behind Ms. Radha, what made her to do what all she has done till today. Anand is the founder of Fidelisworld and a Mauritius-based private equity group focused on digitally enabled companies in India with an extensive experience including leadership roles in Dubai International Capital and JP Morgan Chase. Anand has demonstrated expertise in investment, restructuring, governance. An alumnus of Harvard Business School, he is also founder member of the Foundation of Restoration of National Values in India. Very warm welcome, Anand. It's a pleasure to have you this evening. Now we also have with us Mrs. Rugmani Prabhakar. Rugmani Prabhakar is a mediation teacher, writer, and poet. Is a journalist turned mediation teacher, author, poet, founded the Art of Living in the Gulf and Middle East, advocating for mindfulness and humanitarian initiatives. Upon returning to India, she directed rural development project and authored influential reports. During the pandemic, she shifted her focus to writing, moderating literacy events, and co-curating all literary and poetry festivals. Her contributions have earned her accolades, including the Karnataka Women Achievers Award 2023. Very warm welcome to you. Pleasure to have you with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an outstanding panel to share their thoughts. Maybe a warm round of applause to each one of them. Well, you're going to have a feature of the time this evening. It's my privilege now to request Ms. Radha Krishnan to come and share your insight. Ms. Radha.
Hello, everybody. I am completely honored and humbled to be standing in front of you and explaining why I wrote the book. Now, the book, Pendulum, Life Between Life, it is exactly what it means. Like life, everybody's life is like a pendulum. It goes from one end to the other, good days and bad days and everything together. Now, how we take that and move forward is what life is all about. We can be where it was, right at the bottom, or make adjustments in life and move forward and get what you want to get. Now, the reason why I wrote this book was, of course, to share my experience about what happened to me. I think that I have a larger picture or a larger concept of the whole term called cancer, because my son went through it. So I was on the caregiving side, and then I was diagnosed 16 years later. So I'm also a patient. So my view is like from both ends, like how does a caregiver takes care of a person or a close one who has cancer, and as a patient who is going through the treatment. And also in this particular book, we have perspective of not only me. Like that, we have lots of books where the patient has written how they went through the ups and downs of the treatment. Here, my husband's sharing his thoughts, my son is sharing his thoughts, and my daughter-in-law is sharing her thoughts. So it's like it's more like I would say, a family coming together and then explaining this is what happened to us and how we came out of it, being positive, being sure what we want to do, and just making sure that we have taking the right steps to move forward. Like I said, so the journey with cancer for me started with my son. We went through all that process of treatment and all that, which was not fun. And then again, for me, so when the term cancer comes into our vocabulary, everybody panics. I was open about it. I was sharing my thoughts or my feelings with everybody except my mother. My mother was old. She was, and I knew that if I tell her that, Mom, I also have cancer, that's it. That would have been the end of her. That was, I was sure of it. So she was the only person in my family who did not know what I was going through. She didn't know until her last days. She passed away in between my treatment. So for me, that is one main reason why I'm also writing. There are lots of books about how a disease affects a family and all that, but when we go into a bookstore, we hardly look through any of those because we try to, I'm not connected to it. No, I don't want to read things like that. So with my book, I'm trying to reach out to more people, like who are connected to me. They will read and they will talk about the book to others. This way, the circle will become bigger and more people will get to know what the term is. Like I'm sure doctor will be explaining a bit more. The cancer is not a death sentence. It's not going to lead to death for sure. It was hard, no doubt. We had our up days and down days and hardships and all those things. But it was not as if, oh my God, what happened? You have to be, first of all, accepting what happened to you, and secondly, know what steps you need to take to move forward and get rectified or get the solutions what can be done. From our side, we have to try our best. Our life is a gift from God without any return policy. So whatever is, you have to accept it and move forward. So that is my whole aim in writing this book, that I will be able to reach out to more people. They will read about it and they will be okay with, things happening in their life, and they will know that all they have to do is be positive and see where they can get the courage and just move forward. So that's it.
Thank you, Radha. You spoke so beautifully. She says, I was so nervous to come and speak. She says, I've spoken to small groups, to families, but to speak to a group of management people I've not done. But you did so beautifully. Thank you so much. We met on Zoom 2 days ago to try and figure out what we are going to say to you. So we had scheduled the call for about half an hour, but we spoke for 1.5 hours. And why did we speak for 1.5 hours? Because the content that came through that day was so rich, with so much value to every person in the room and to everybody who needs to know this, that we found that we needed to curate everything we said for 1.5 hours in the short time span we are going to have right now, and communicate with you that should cancer come anywhere in the umbrella within the umbrella that you live in, you will know how to address it. Starting from the first point, when the news reaches you, to all the big questions that come. What is going to happen to me? What is going to happen to my family? What about money? We all know that cancer treatments can go on for a long time and can be exhausting for the family. I mean, the entire cycle, relationships get affected, the entire cycle. This panel today is going to do their very, very best to help you so that you go back with solutions, right? So my first question is, what happens on that first moment when you hear the news? You've heard Radha speak. Now, Anand is the father, the husband, and the primary caregiver as the provider of the family. My first question is to you, Anand, and then I'll pass it on to you, doctor, for you to give us a wider view of what happens in families. Over to you, Anand.
And the first and foremost thing, again, nice to see you all here. It's a nice group of people, a lot of youngsters, a good mix of people here. And I'm really thankful you have given us the opportunity for us to discuss this very important, aspect of life, which is going to be, affecting every one of us someday or the other, or somebody that you might know. So the first thing that came to me, and it was a very normal backache, and we all get
I'm going to ask you to start with when your son, that was the first time.
Right. So when it happened with my son, I was totally perplexed. I had no idea how we were going to deal with this.
You said he was 18 years old then.
He was 18 years old and he was just about to graduate from high school. And I was the prime of my career at JP Morgan in Hong Kong. I had just moved to New York. And for me, everything ahead of me was not about what I was going to do, about what is he going to do and how are we going to tackle this? Because he's just graduated, a very bright student, and he's just graduating from high school. And we need now to take a look at, get this, disease cured. And we were in Hong Kong, and it is not a well-known place for medical facilities. The first thing was to share the information with people that we know. Why? Because they are the ones, if you don't share it, you're not going to get the help that you need. Right? So the person that I shared it with was a gentleman named Madhu Rao, who was a well-to-do person in Hong Kong. And he said, drop everything, take your son to the best available treatment center in San Francisco. Yes, a lot of this may sound, ridiculous to you because it is all going to cost money. But I'm telling you, the decisions that you need to make, even from a management perspective, you need to get to the root cause of whatever the issue is, right? That is what we wanted to get done here as well. Get to the root cause of the issue. We did that. We got the PET scan done. And we also knew right at that point of time that Hong Kong was not the place for us to be there, for us to continue his treatment. So and I told my bosses at JP Morgan that I have to leave. I have to go take care of my family first. Family comes first. And I want all of you to understand that. Without the family, nothing is going to go on, right? So please keep that in mind. Whether it's your management, whether it's anything, your bosses should understand that, right? So family comes first. Take care of that, okay? So that's what we did. We had to fly out on the next flight to San Francisco. And my employers were very empathetic. They said, please do what you think you need to do. If we can be of help to you, we will get that done too. And they were very helpful in trying to see if we can move everything into New York. But we were already halfway there with the experts in San Francisco, right? So the first steps is to try and make sure you bring your family together, understand what the issue is, try to share it with a few people, not everybody, to understand what can be done, how can they help us with getting the best care, and then you do what is required, is to go there and get the best care started.
So my question to you, doctor, is for an aware, well-resourced person like the Krishnan family, like the Krishnan family, the point between when they heard the information and acceptance was very short. But this is not normally the case when cancer, the information of cancer comes first into a family. Now, what happens to many families when this comes in? And how would you recommend they address it?
I think different people react differently. So this is like a bad news. It's like, for many people, it's like a death sentence. So the various phases when you face such bad situation is initially denial phase. No, it can't be true. And doubts will happen. And after some time, they accept the facts. And the next stage would be anger. They're bitter with the whole situation. Why me? And so forth. So, but there is another side to this. For example, when a bad situation happens, we get a lot of adrenaline. So you need to overcome the crisis. So as Anand was telling, talk to people whom you really trust and seek the best advice. So you need to meet the right person at the right time. and then move forward, is what I would say.
So what is the best, what you mentioned was the best response. What is the worst response in a situation like this?
So the problem is fear. So fear to an extent is good, so, and so somehow you need to have faith in the system, and then try your best to win the situation is what I would say.
What do you mean by win the situation?
So whatever the negative situation you're facing, let it be cancer, try to get the diagnosis confirmed and the stage confirmed, and what's the best available treatment with the least amount of toxicity and costing.
In a city like Chennai, what would a person's path be? What is the route they should take?
India is very beautiful. That's what we were discussing 2 days ago. All whether it is extremely poor or middle class or extremely rich, all are given care in different setups. For example, the government hospitals, the treatment is free. So if someone cannot afford, that is a very good place to be. There may be some delays, some inconvenience, but they are doing a tremendous job. People with fracture, delivery, surgery, it's all free. So that is there, but obviously majority are poor, so that place is going to be overcrowded, but you would get good care in such institutions. And so based on your insurance and affordability, there are different hospitals that can provide the care at the right time.
You know, something I'd asked the doctor the other time when we met was that time between the period you hear that cancer has come into the family and the time that you actually accept it's happened and begin to take action in an informed way, the longer that period is, the longer you are postponing treatment, which is not right. Yeah? So I think if the objective of this panel is to somehow get across the information, the understanding that the moment this information comes, to be able to accept it, the sooner you accept it, the sooner you're able to move on to the next step. So when doctor was saying the biggest challenge is denial. When people hear that this has happened in their family, the first thing they say is, no, it can't be. It can't be. And then after that, they may not take action for quite some time. So what happened with Radha was just a back pain. And Radha, you want to talk about how this back pain went on? Your husband said nothing doing?
Yeah, so I had this lingering back pain. It was not a pain that was not allowing me to do my regular activities. I was going on doing whatever I was doing, but the pain persisted. So I went to a doctor, chiropractor, physiotherapist. It used to work okay for some time, but then it'll come back again and again. Then I went to, I was like giving it all kinds of excuses. No, maybe I play golf, so maybe I hit a shot wrong. That's why it is hurting me. I do yoga. I said maybe I did something wrong. My grandson was young. Maybe I can. So I gave all kinds of excuses to myself, saying that the pain will go away. The pain will go away. But I stayed with that pain for almost 6 months. And then one day we had gone out for dinner, and on our way back, I could not get out of the car. I just couldn't move at all. That kind of, was an alarm for all of us, for both of us. And Anand said, no, nothing doing. Tomorrow we have to go to a real doctor. And then we went, again the same thing. Do I explain what happened?
Yeah, please.
Again, then, went to the doctor there. He did all my physical tests. I could move, I could exercise, I could move around to all directions that he was asking me to move. But then he said, okay, I don't see anything, you're able to do all these things. the only thing that we can do now is do an MRI. So, somehow we got the appointment right away and we went in for the MRI. And, that itself is a traumatic experience, going through an MRI. Anyway, went through the MRI, and then when I'm coming out, when I'm coming out, I'm expecting the technician to tell me that 24, 48 hours, your doctor will know the results and then he'll call you. I'm coming out of the room and then she just stops me. She says, no, just wait. And then I said, okay. And then she said, no, just wait outside with your husband for half an hour. Doctor will see you right away. Why will the doctor see me right away? I'm already confused and, anxious. Then she says, no, just wait, don't go anywhere. Then I come out and stay. Anand is like, why are they asking us to stay? I said, I don't know, let us just find out why. And then the doctor also comes and says, don't go anywhere. I'm getting the reports and I want to discuss the report before you go anywhere. And then he reads, he's not telling us anything, right? He has the report in front of him and he says, I'm just going to move you to another doctor. I'm like, no, I have come to you. I want to know what's wrong with me. See, before that, I haven't been to much of doctors. God has been great. I have had no problem. So this is my first experience with a real doctor. And he's like telling me, I cannot deal with your issue. I'll move you to another doctor. I'm like, why am I going to another doctor? So he says, no, because, I'm seeing something in your MRI. I can't explain. I don't want to tell you things. Went on and went on. We both are like, no, we need to know what it is. And even he came up with a term. To this day, I don't know how to pronounce it properly. What is it that?
Metastasis.
And all I said was, what? And then he says, yeah, it's kind of a cancer. There it was. I'm like, this cannot be happening again to us. But, that's what it was.
Yeah, so I just want to, I was requested to put certain management thoughts behind this as well. And I think it's important. If you are all in an organization, and it's very easy to understand how viruses affect our systems, right? You're all caretakers of the organization. The life of the organization is the systems these days. And if you just don't care about the viruses in your system, there's going to be a time when everything gets shut down, and an organization gets shut down, right? So it's very important that you take care of it for the organization. Unfortunately, we do not regard ourselves as an organization. We just want to put it off for as much as it can be. So don't do that, right? Regard as yourselves as something more important than the organization, because without you, the organization is not going to be going on. So please, these are all things which you do in a place of work. Just pay a little bit more attention to yourself, see really what it is, get to the underlying cause, and make sure that you have the right treatment for it. I don't know whether it's a Norton or whatever it is, the medicines will come to you, right? So make sure you do that. I just want to make sure there are lots of similarities in how you run a business and how you take care of yourself, okay?
Okay, that's a good point to stop at, because whether you're running a business or you're taking care of the family, it's all about mind and emotion. Okay, I'd like each one of you to address it from the perspective of what is your emotional response to a situation like this, and what are the principles you can apply from a management perspective. What did you do, Radha? When you heard of this, you said you'd started planning. I think it's important for people to hear this.
Yeah, so when I heard, first for my son and then for myself, of course. The son, you know how it is, being mother, it was hard, but I would think that I was ready to accept it, but also in some kind of a denial, like, he'll be fine. I know we'll do all this treatment, he'll be fine. Thing hadn't set in yet. But then when it set in, it really did hit me, and I was in tears. One statement my son told me that, I'm going to be in pain no matter what. So either we get it through with you be strong, I'll be strong. If you cry, I'm also going to cry, but we have to go through the pain no matter what. That's not going to go away. It is what is in front of us is in front of us. So for me, the first thing, that's what it is. Situation comes, acceptance. You accept what it is there. You cannot change the fact. You can try to go around here and there, but that's not going to go away from you. It is going to be right in
And
front of you.
by the way, that son is right here. It happened to him in 2003, 2004, and that's right him here, right? So
the acceptance, I think, yes, like the doctor said, you accept it, you know that you have to get it, you have to get the treatment done and you move forward. So acceptance and
And you said you started planning. You started planning.
yeah,
I think
that was when I had to move from one city to another. I live in Dubai, but we moved to New York for my treatment, and I wasn't sure. I mean, I was okay with it. I was not in like a state where I'm upset or depressed, but I had to make sure that I had things in order. So in my house, everything is labeled. All the papers are labeled. You open a file, you will find everything there. I have sorted out all, even decluttered my closet, decluttered everything in my life. You open something, like if you want something, even today, if we want something, I know exactly where it is because everything is labeled, everything is in place. So I think that was a big experience for me, and I like doing it though. So, I make sure that if, God forbid, I do not come back or I'm in a state where I'm not able to communicate, everything is there. We have a book, we jokingly call it the Bible. So it has everything, I have everything written in that book. Like what is where, what things are, the bank accounts, everything, So I think that preparation comes, that also helped me to not accept, but at least look into the prospect that maybe, things won't work out for me and I may not be okay.
so. How did she manage mind and emotion? I'm just going to come to you. See, I'm not a mediation teacher. I'm a meditation teacher. Okay. Can I just finish that with her? So you had said that the meditation and your practices helped you actually ground yourself and keep yourself cool. So
I'm spiritually oriented. So I'm a lot into meditation and books reading and all those things. I'm a member of Art of Living. So I practice Sudarshan Kriya. I continued with that. So none of those things stopped for me. The breathing techniques, the meditation, the thought process, the reading, all those things continued. Only the outer activities I had to stop because of what I was going through. So for me, that meditation actually held me together. It just let me be, accept what comes. I'm not fighting what is coming, just accepting what is coming. And
so the point I'm trying to make here is that, when you hear of something terrible happen, most of us live on the surface of the ocean, right? We live on the surface of the ocean. So if the ocean is turbulent, we are turbulent. If it's calm out there, we are also calm because we're living on the surface of the ocean. But what happens when you start meditating, like Radha did, is you begin to move from the surface of the ocean to the bottom of the ocean, where it doesn't really matter. I'm not saying it doesn't really matter, but the impact of external influences is not as much as if you're just getting up and not addressing what is happening inside you. I'm just bringing perspective to what it took for her to survive this entire experience, keeping her cool, which is what her friends have also told me, that she was absolutely remarkable, and meditation played a huge role there. Now, over to you, Anand.
No, I just wanted to give you that one term. Many of us in organizations, we have something called contingency plan, right? We all do this for our businesses. How many of us really do this in our personal lives? Taking care of things, telling the next person in our family that this is where things are, this is how it will be. It is not the end of the day or end of whatever it is, but it is planning. You do it in an organization. Because if you don't do that, you lose your job one day, right? So it's all part of principles that you apply. You know what it is. Just apply it to yourselves. That's all it is. And that's not what she did, right? It is contingency planning. What if? What if, right? Keep asking. You do that all the time. All I'm saying is apply it to yourselves at home.
So that's a takeaway, actually, to make a plan all the time, assuming that anything can happen anytime. Yes? Is that apocalyptical? Yeah. Doc, what is the emotional response people have, and how do you think they should address it? Can you hold this a little closer to?
So, we have to be strong in our mind, as Radha was telling, and at the same time calm, face the situation, and seek help, and come over the rough times. I think that's what I would. So it's like anything else. I see a lot of young maybe students here. How would you prepare for an exam? Many a times there are students who are very afraid to take the exams. They're worried, will they pass, will they fail, will they score? So you network between your colleagues. Hey, which is the book? Where do I search? What is the questions going to be? You prepare. The same thing here. It's when you fall ill, it's almost like taking an exam. Are you going to pass this? What are the resources I need to use? So the same thing applies, I think, here also. Just be confident, be strong, be positive. The other day, 2 days ago, when we had this Zoom, it's very easy to preach, but how easy it is to practice. So it may be easy for me to sit here in the pulpit and also on the stage and talk all positive things, but when someone faces it, how would we do it? So the key thing is good exercise, eat healthy, laugh it out when you face bad situation, avoid anger. These are all good things, so to overcome. I mean, these are good. Even if you don't have a disease, I think it's a good thing to make it a habit, I think.
See, doctor, that may be possible for the strong people in the family. Now, Radha did not tell her mother because her mother was living somewhere else. So she had the option of not telling. But sometimes you're all living in the same house. The elderly people will not take it in the spirit that you are recommending. Then what?
So that's what we were talking the other day. So we are from the Indian culture, the society. How do we face the situation? So many times, let's say it's a lady or a mother who has a cancer or a bad disease. The husband and the children will tell, please don't tell the diagnosis to my mother or sister, but they want to keep it away because the mother is completely dependent upon the husband and the children, and she may be a homemaker. Whereas in the Western culture, it's totally different. That particular lady only takes the decision, and then second comes the spouse. So we have to see what our family background is, how our upbringing is, and get strength from others at the right situation.
Amit is sitting right here. Amit, you were 18 years old, just finishing high school when this news came to you. Would you be okay to come on stage and just share? I think a lot of people here are today your age. I can see so many young people here. Could you come and just come to the pulpit and just share?
Hello? Yeah. So,
Would you mind coming here?
Yeah, come to the lecture.
so the prompt, what you want me to just talk about how
Just
it
talk
works?
about Uh, how old are you today?
Pardon me?
How old are you today?
Today I am, how old am I? I'm 38.
38. How many people in the room are 38 years old? How many people are younger than 38? Okay, so everyone here has been 18 years old, right? This is something that happened to Amit when he was 18 years old. Go ahead.
Yeah, so uh, I had a very different attitude, I think, at that time. When I was going through it, there was a sense almost of sort of that teenage invincibility of youth that comes. So there was this, I don't know if I ever recall thinking, oh, how could this happen to me? Or why did this happen to me? Or anything of that nature. I think more it was just, okay, now what? And it was really about looking at the positives about the entire situation. And I think the positives were there. I was already pretty much graduated from high school. I had been accepted early into my choice of university. So I really didn't have anything to do in school for the next sort of, 4 odd months. We had the wherewithal, the insurance cover, the resources to be able to just go to the best place to get it taken care of. The cancer that I had, which was testicular cancer, is extremely treatable. I mean, in my case, it's something that I had actually let go on for quite a while. There were symptoms. I had just been completely ignoring the symptoms because it's like, how can that happen to me? That doesn't make any sense. So part of it is, I guess, my own mismanagement of the situation. And then it got to this point, I was stage 3 plus, right? And it had spread all over the body. But even at that stage, it is very curable. So that was the silver lining that I took out of the entire thing. And basically it became just planning step after step. And I think the Hong Kong thing, I mean, it could be any location. Hong Kong doesn't see that many cases of testicular cancer. I think the US at that point probably had the highest caseload of treatment for this disease. So it got to the point where I almost had to, there was one point, Mom, if you remember, I was almost diagnosing myself. I told the doctor, hey, I was reading all the medical journals and I was like, hey, doctor, can you run these protein tests like alpha fetoprotein or something to see what is going on? Because that's what could be causing this mass that's in my body. And the doctor was like, okay, and we did it and it was just like, boom. And then at that point, we sort of knew that, you need to be in places, you need the right advice, you need to be in places where they have the experience of dealing with it. From that perspective, I think Mom, we faced very similar sort of challenges, at least getting to the correct diagnosis for you and then moving forward. In which case, Dr. Easow was extremely, extremely helpful. Being the head of this very prestigious program here, I think the advice that he was able to give us, he could almost tell just by looking at Mom what it was. And I've made meticulous notes of what he told Mom.
On Zoom. On Zoom.
It was on Zoom. And I made meticulous notes of what all he said would be the treatment regimen and things that we would face. And when we were in New York, it was exactly that. Like there was no deviation whatsoever from everything that doctor had said, pretty much on day one. So when you're blessed to get that kind of information, of course you have to seek it out. I think that's also a management principle. But once you have it from people you can trust and in situations where uncertainty is really thriving, then I think that's something that you should bank on and have faith and trust in it.
Were you in pain?
At which point?
Were you in physical pain?
In my treatment, yes. So the thing is, even during my diagnosis, my physical pain was what caused me to go into the hospital in the first place to get it checked out. And that was just an internal. It wasn't because of the cancer. In fact, I think in cancer the treatment is often more painful than the actual sort of disease as it moves through the body. And then chemotherapy was no walk in the park, but it was fairly well managed. And then I had surgeries as well. So there was definitely physical pain involved in that. But I think in general it was, always with a goal in mind. So it didn't really, I mean, I think there's probably one point in the entire thing where I sat down and I was like, this is getting too much to handle. Apart from that, it was fairly positive thoughts. And I think I was under the influence of some intense medication at that point. So I'll put that down to some of the things that I was given. But yeah, I mean, it is almost a different mindset. It's like a mission mode that you sort of go into. Self-preservation, maybe? I don't know. But I don't know how that comes into the management thing, but that's sort of what triggered it.
So between the time the diagnosis happened and the time the doctors declared that you were completely fine, how many years was that?
It wasn't, I mean, so the thing is, the physical cure happened, so I was diagnosed in February of 2004, right? And then I think by August, I was done with the last of my treatment and surgery and everything. And after that was follow-up. So there was 5 to 6 years of follow-up.
5 to 6 years, and now life is completely normal. You're like anyone else. Your little one is here running around. Yes.
Right.
That's his Sunday.
So what's your message, Anand, to the people as the father, as the caregiver, as the provider of the family, as a human being, and then as a corporate?
I think the key thing is have faith. Make sure you do take the right decisions at the right time. Seek help. Go to the best if you can. And make sure you keep your family intact, right? These are some of the key messages that I'd like to give them.
See, keeping family intact, it's a nice word. Okay, it's a nice phrase. What do you mean? What did it take to keep the family intact? It is for the family and the question to the doctor too. You've seen families that have stayed intact and you've seen families that have collapsed. So I'd like them to speak about how they stayed together, and then you can tell us, actually, give us examples, doctor, of families that have stayed together and the things that can happen to destroy a family also when something like this happens. You want to say anything more about staying intact?
But yeah, it's a high stress environment. I think it's the same, and this I think has a direct application to sort of any sort of management challenge that you'll face. If there's a crisis in your personal life, if there's a crisis in your business, whatever it might be, there's a core team of decision makers. You might be the ultimate decision maker, might be someone else that's going through it, and you have to give good advice. So at the end of the day, it's really about the team. That's really what you're talking about there. And in this case, the family is the team. When it's a personal crisis, the family is the team. You want to make sure you're getting the best out of what they are good for. I mean, it's not to say that, everyone can be great at the same things. I mean, you have to really find out.
So you've had moments when one person is really down and the others may not have had the strength at that point to be there?
Absolutely. So one thing Mom didn't mention is that, when we had that conversation about the crying, I also relied on her a lot to be a buffer between me and other family members who may not have reacted in a way that I felt would give me the strength to move forward. I didn't want to be in a situation where I was consoling people per se. I was focused on this. So I relied on my mother.
Good point.
To be that buffer for me. And just sort of let people know that, look, he's actually in good spirits. So there's no reason to go in there and be like, oh, what happened to you? Like, what do we do? And freak out and things like that. And I think similarly, the same thing in business. You have a core team of people. It's about figuring out how to draw the best out of everybody. And so there's an element of management skills there, but yes, that core team should be kept intact because everyone has something to offer.
And a very critical point here is the father and the mother are not similar. The mother can take a very emotional approach. The father can be erratic at times, and the father can also say the wrong things at times, right? So you need to have it to balance it out. So you also want to make sure that, it's not all the time. You need a team, but you also want to make sure that you give the right benefit to the right people. And I say this even in your organizations. It's very important to have a woman leader amongst yourselves because they think differently, right? I am all for woman power. I'm all for empowerments, but it's very important that you understand that as well, because they look at it differently. And you want to have that diversity in your decision making. That's what happens at home. That's what a mother does. A father cannot. I can tell you that today sitting here. I could not have done a lot of things that she did, and with the love that she did. Or she could give comfort to my son. I couldn't, right? It's exactly the same thing how an organization works. So please keep these things in mind.
Fabulous. Doc, a quick one, because a lot of questions have come from people across the country.
Lovely.
That's amazing. Doc, one quick question. This family, with God's blessings, had the resources to be able to address it without compromise on quality of life. But this is not the case with a lot of families. You know, I asked a couple of people, how much insurance do you have? And they said, we have a 5 lakh coverage. That is all they had. Most of these treatments will go way, way above that. Now, fundamentally, in a few points, can you tell people what they should do to plan for contingencies like this?
If you have the resources, you'll have to take a higher insurance.
How much should all the people, what kind of insurance should the people here have? Give a number, Doc. Give a realistic number as an oncologist.
See, whatever you can afford, start with, and then keep increasing. I'll ask a question. How much,
Doctor, just keep the mic close to your mouth.
how much does it cost to buy a 1,500 square foot apartment here in Chennai? It's
1
all in
crore?
Cs.
1 crore?
No, I don't think you'll get 1 C. It's minimum 3 or above. So that's where things are going, you know. So the insurance also, earlier it used to be 5 lakhs. So depending on your income, you have to increase it, whatever your budget permits. No? So 30 or 20 or something, no? Lakhs or something like that.
How much?
30 or 20 lakhs
People should have an insurance that
least.
covers 20 to 30 lakhs.
at least.
So this is,
There are-
here everybody, see, this is your investment for a contingency, because there are families that can get wiped out, completely wiped out, because they've spent everything. They've sold property to take care of illnesses. So please be aware, plan for 20 to 30 lakhs of insurance coverage. It is just an investment that you have to make yearly for this, right?
The other day I was sharing, you have patients from Sri Lanka, very middle class, ordinary patients. You know? But there the strength is the neighborhood. Everyone chips in for that patient, and then they come over here, and they are able to meet the expenses for the treatment. So each society and have their own way of fundraising. Here now there is crowdfunding. There are many, sometimes the family members chip in. So and if you don't have the resources, there are other hospitals that we can approach. If you want high-end care, then the insurance premium should be higher. There are people, at least in the US, when I was there 20, 30 years ago, we used to have coverage for $500,000. That's the going rate there. Here it's much lower, the 5 lakhs, 1 lakh, 6 lakhs.
I'm going to take the questions here because we don't have too much time. Most of them are addressed to you, Anand. Okay. The first question is, good question, from Aditya of Chennai. Can you discuss the role of trust building and relationship management with stakeholders, both internal and external, in navigating adversity effectively?
First and foremost is you want to make sure that you're absolutely open about everything that you discuss, right? It's very important that you create that trust. The trust is not going to be built overnight, right? So you need to work on ensuring that you understand who your stakeholders are. What is it that they want? Even internally, it's a little easier because you live with your family, and I hope you understand each other in a family. It's a little bit more difficult when you are in an organization. You have to make sure that you understand what your role is, what the role is of your seniors, what the role is of the stakeholders of the company, right? So it is very important that you understand these things first before, and then that's all an ongoing, a process of trust building. And that trust, once it is set in, is when you start getting help from both sides. It's not a one-way street. So you need to build that, and likewise, you can see that trust is built the other way as well. And what was the second part of the question? Transparency has got to be the key for you.
I think you answered it.
Okay.
The second question is from Sethu and Trichy. Can you share examples of ethical dilemmas? Good question. You faced as a leader during adversity and how you navigated them while upholding integrity and values. Good question.
Sure. See, we all face ethical issues while we are at work in an organization. And I've been through billions and billions of dollars of mergers and bringing organizations together. And mergers is bringing people together. And you have to be very ethical, because you can't just let go of one person from the other organization, because it's not ethical. You need to make sure you are ethical. You have to give everybody the same platform and make sure that the best person for that job. If you do that, if you understand what it is, who you're dealing with, what are their roles, and is that the best person for the role, then you're ethically doing your job absolutely right, right? You need not worry about, oh, I'll let that person go. At a job, I think it's important that you have the right people at the right time, at the right place, right? So ethics means, how do you treat that person to make sure that you're doing the right thing for their role in the company? Is it going to help you? Is it going to help the rest of the organization? So ethics is defined differently in an organization. As far as the family is concerned, absolutely different. You have to be honest. More than being transparent, you have to be absolutely honest, because to your wife, to your son, to your grandson, whoever it is, honesty is what is going to get you through both ways, right? So ethics is a little different when it comes to organization, and honesty is what I'm going to pay more heed to when it comes to a family.
Fabulous. Thank you. I like that. Okay. Another good question. How do you maintain a positive organizational culture and morale when facing prolonged periods of adversity, whether it's illness at home or in a situation at work?
As a leader in an organization, it's very important that you don't get too much down on yourself, because you are supporting a whole cast of members below you and above you. You have the relationship. You have to make sure you are doing the right things to hold the ship and for the sail of the ship properly, right? So very important to have an even keel. You can take out your frustrations out by yourself in a boardroom. Don't do it in front of anybody. Let everybody understand that they are understood, that they are valuable for the company, and also create team building events even during the worst of times, right? You want to make sure that the team that you have invested in is a team that's going to be with you, the team that you've built the trust with. Very important, right? If you don't do that and you're going to bring in new people all the time, you're not going to have any positive culture that you're creating in an organization. So the first thing is ensure that you hire the right people. The second thing is you make sure that you give them everything right. Keep them happy. Go with team building, not just between you and them, but the entire organization. Have a healthy attitude and a positive attitude all the times. Adversity is absolutely bound to be there. Nobody has not come out of adversity, right? You just need to keep an absolute stable mind, a positive attitude, and make sure that you don't show the wrong intentions on any one of your organizational, individual, but just keep going with that, right?
Thank you. This is to you, Dr. Easow. What is your advice to young leaders which could be helpful in preventing cancer or any other life-threatening diseases at a young age?
I said earlier, I think you got to eat right. Everything should be in moderation. exercise is very important, and I think the eat right, exercise, be happy, and take it easy. Laugh at things, and anger is not good at all, because it really brings your immunity down, and to recover from that, it takes hours and days. Whereas if you laugh,
What about anxiety and stress, and which is inevitable? Is there anyone here who's not stressed? Put up your hand. What about stress? That's like every day, every day. What about that?
So I think if you exercise, you become calm. That's for sure. 30 minutes or 1 hour walk or whatever you like, or play some games. These are all de-stressors, and be in the surrounding of nature, plants, trees, and I think there are some studies that have shown that organizations, if they have plants in the office, they are able to cope with stress better than an office that does not have plants. And that's about it. Love each other, don't get angry, laugh at things,
Yes.
in a healthy way, not the other way around. So,
Your family will be very happy. He says, don't get angry. Don't get angry with your wife. Don't get angry with your husbands. Don't get angry with your parents.
I mean, anger in a healthy way is fine, but don't get carried away with that. Forgive and move forward. Cities like this, it's going to be very stressful, because the roads are crowded, road rage, all honking, all that. Somehow we just have to ignore and move forward. Tolerate it and adjust. Move forward.
I tell you, one of the things I have to mention here, my grandson is 3.5 years of age, Kabir, and he tells me, Tata, don't yell at anybody, don't shout at anybody, keep calm, right? Now, as a 3.5-year-old is telling me that, I better understand it, I better, take that to heart, because he knows something of it, which makes sure that it's going to be a stressful environment if he's in it all the time. And this huge changes happened, So listen to to the youngsters as well in your house. I instituted the reverse mentoring at JP Morgan, right? Which basically meant listen to your youngsters. They have more understanding of what's happening in today's world, and there's nothing wrong in it. You give people mentoring, but you should learn from youngsters as well. And you should have this in your organizations. Reverse mentoring is the best thing that's ever to be done in an organization.
Brian Moses from Bello, I know you're listening. I think Dr. and Anand have answered your question. Your question is about the number of young people under 40 getting cancer. They've given you some thoughts to be with.
One more piece of advice. So if you're a runner, if you're a jogger, avoid running in the roads, because all these hydrocarbons that are emitted from the vehicles you're going to inhale, so which is much worse than smoking. Such people get bad things at least 1 decade earlier. So it's better to exercise where there are trees, where the air is fresh, rather than the streets and the road that is polluted with all these hydrocarbons.
Or they can run early in the morning before the traffic comes in, right?
So,
I mean, it's not, yeah. Doctor, the next question is to you too. Can you discuss the importance of effective communication strategies in navigating adversity and maintaining team cohesion, not just as somebody as a head of an entire institution, but also within the family. What approaches do you employ in your personal communication with patients?
Repeat the question.
The importance of effective communication strategies, these are big words. Doctor, this is just all about communication, whether it is within the family, to your patients, or to families, or in the context of families that are experiences. What is the role of communication? And what is your personal strategy? Anand has his personal strategy, you have your personal strategy. Radha, you too.
So I think from the doctor's perspective, it is very important to listen to the patient. So we have to be very patient and listen to the story they're telling. That itself would give out the diagnosis. So if you cut them halfway through, then the diagnosis can be missed. So you just have to keep listening. They themselves will give out the diagnosis. So listening is very important. And what was the other question? Communication?
Communication?
So as I said earlier, there are some families who don't want the patient to know what problems they are going through, especially when it comes to cancer. So they say, don't tell my mother this, just say that she'll be fine. So they want hope, basically. You know? So within the Indian social structure, because if you say something bad, that itself may give a heart attack. So keep it away from them is one of the
Is that a strategy? Do you keep it away, or like the Western way, everybody has to tell?
Western way, we are not supposed to do that. We are supposed to tell everything. But to the family member, we tell the whole truth and cost and the side effects, the benefits, etc. It depends who, so we have to assess who the patient is, who the family members are, who all are in their home, their extended relatives, like that. So there are different situations.
Anand, do you have anything to say?
No, about effective communication, I just want to leave it, I think, listen, communication is very important. And one of the things that I look out for in organizations is, do they talk to the other department to understand what the issues are? Is there a leverage that can be gained? Is there something more we can understand? If you do that, the issue itself is resolved much easier, right? You must have seen this in your organizations. We had the same issue when we were looking at this. And we had a hospital, I'm not going to name them, we would go to a doctor and he would not talk to the other doctor to understand what the problem was, right? Radha was going to be treated for a different kind of cancer because of that. And we understood it, that it was not the right thing to do. And you need to understand that intuitively, you can get to certain understandings if you are just listening to what they're saying. Obviously, they did not discuss the issue with the other doctor or the other doctor. Very important. Whereas, when we discuss it with Dr. Easow, it's his principle to discuss these things with others, to understand it better. If we went to the Western culture in Memorial Sloan Kettering, the doctors would discuss the case every evening amongst themselves so that they can understand it better. That's effective communication to understand what the disease is. It's very similar in organizations. It's very similar in personal life and family as well. There could be certain things with my son, but it's important that my wife gets involved and she is also part of it, so I get the perspective. So all I would give you is such examples so that you get to the core of the issue much quickly.
Very important question, Anand, for you. This is from Subina and Kannur. How do you handle disagreements or conflicts within a team when facing high-stakes challenges? And what strategies do you employ to maintain unity?
See, the first and foremost is to try and understand what the issue is. If somebody comes and tells you this is what needs to be done, is not going to resolve that issue, you're not going to be going anywhere. So the first and foremost as a leader is to try and understand the issue and see which people are providing you with the right support. And you also need to make sure you take the right actions against the others. There's nothing wrong in it. You are now a leader, a part of a leadership team at your organization, and now you are ensuring that your organization is going to go forward. And you need to make sure as a leader that you understand what the issue is. If you don't understand the issue and you're just trying to understand the emotions of the people that are working with you, that's the end of it. Your career is also gone. So are the careers of the others. And there's going to be absolutely nothing left for the organization. They just need to go outside and get new people in. And by that time, the organization is going to end. So the adversity is going to become much larger. So the basic thing, what I would suggest to anybody, is to try and understand the issue. You are a leader because you've gotten there because of certain experiences. You ought to have that experience to get to that bottom of the issue and make sure you have the right team and the right people around you to ensure that you make sure you do the right things and keep them together.
From Soni Kumari in Lucknow, can you share any lessons or best practices from your experiences leading through adversity? They want solutions that could benefit other leaders facing similar challenges.
Lots of them, and I think we can sit here all night. But one of the key things I'll talk to you about is adversity, and I'll talk about my wife. Now, 6 months after what had happened to her, she was still going to say, my backache is fine. But you as a leader need to understand that it's not fine. There could be certain steps taken to really understand what that problem is. And that's what my decision was, to make sure that we go to somebody who understands it and we do it right away, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's an organization that's based on what my leadership is, if I don't take those actions, I'm going to get stuck. If I don't take those actions at home, I'm going to have a real bad couple of months and life beyond that, and she's going to suffer as well. So you have to take it upon yourself to ensure that you take the right steps to ensuring that you have the right answers. And that's what we did every step of the way, right? We had not just one opinion, we had 4 opinions before we got to the right understanding of what needed to get done. You all need to practice the same thing. You all need to understand what the gut feel is. What is it that you're doing? Don't ever feel that you're doing the wrong thing. You have to make sure that you're progressing towards what the right decisions are, and also use your leadership experience and making sure you make the right decisions at the right time.
Doctor, the next question is for you. Can you share a personal experience where you had to lead through adversity, and what were the key management and leadership principles you applied and the results?
Things when I was in US with my wife's first pregnancy. I was in Minneapolis. It was minus 65 degrees. And this is in January, I think January 16th or so. I could not, when she had the labor pain, I could not open my car door. So we had to bring hot water, pour it, and get into the car and take her to the hospital. So, so at that time they said it's going to be a normal delivery. And there the husband also sits along with the wife during the whole process. So I myself am a doctor. And then a day goes by and nothing is happening. So suddenly they decided they take her up for C-section. So we thought everything was going to be fine. Minus 60, minus 70 degrees. Post-delivery, the baby is doing good. And discharged, I think the next day.
Doctor? The mic.
Oh, sorry. The next day. And then she gets fever. So we are alone in US. And then she had to get readmitted to the hospital. So when I went through, I don't know anything about management. I somehow have to get through the situation. My training was least important for me. I had to be with my wife. And then what do I do with my son, who is 2 days old? Lucky we had good neighbors. So one of the neighbors looked after him for 7 days. And me and my wife is in the hospital. And the fever is not resolved. And then she had to undergo a second surgery, all that, they said all that. So Prior to this, before the C-section, she had gone through a simple line. And I'm standing there, the anesthetist is there. I know these lines leads to complications. And sure enough, they punctured the artery. I was there, I'm not going to blame you. But one thing led to another to the other. Long story short, all other surgery, 7 days after delivery. I'm not thinking any management principles. It's one of my kid to be able to do. And my courage is least important. So even if I have to redo the whole thing in a month or 1 year later, I'm fine, but I'm in training. Then again, she started vomiting up and then bowel obstruction. So 3 surgeries in 2 weeks. And by the time my mother flew in from India, my mother-in-law, so that was one of the worst things that we faced. But also I was young, I was able to handle all these stress without looking into any principles. We have to get better. Now she's going to into the second child. So this is one personal experience that I can think of.
Thank you, doctor. Do we have time for one more question? Okay. Anand, actually, this is something that has come from Rakesh in Tanjavur. How do you prioritize tasks and resources effectively when facing multiple high-stake challenges simultaneously? In your context, you had 2 health situations in your home and a personal career that you took off one track. You were at the peak of your professional career and you had to go on another track because your family was a priority. So both on a personal and a professional level, how would you respond to this question?
I think that's a very good question. As I said, first and foremost is the family, right? So take care of that. As I earlier had mentioned, or if not, I had a very good career of 20 years with JP Morgan, being at one of the highest, designations in Hong Kong for Asia. And whatever happened at a stage where it doesn't matter. My family came first, right? And if you have confidence in yourself that you are good enough to manage adversity, manage the adversity, do what you have to do, prioritize that, and do what you have to do, everything else will fall in its place. Believe me, everything else will fall in its place. There is a responsibility for you as a father. There is a responsibility for you as a husband. There is a responsibility for you as a leader in the organization. When you are a leader in the organization, you have to make sure that you have created enough contingencies to ensure that there are leaders below you and above you who understand what the situation is, and the leaders below you can take the train forward. If you haven't done that, you're not a good leader. So make sure that all these things are done to ensure that even if you're not there, that things can progress. Now, we're not there physically, but absolutely we are able to talk to the team wherever we are, and we will do that. But you need to make sure that whoever you choose, who is going to take over from you or who is going to help you in key situations, you get that person on board. You're not everything to everybody in an organization, nor are you everything to everybody in your family. The husband has a lot of things to do. You heard Radha say, she takes care of everything for me from a US tax perspective and from, ensuring that all our bills are paid. So she is key for me in the house. And I don't want to trust anybody else. You want to make sure that the next best person is understanding of what needs to be done. You have these things that you can fall back on in family. Take advantage of it. Make sure that they understand it. They will get educated. They get better. They get better than you. So what? So this is the same situation in organizations as well. If people below you get better than you, so what? It makes you better, right? Decisions are better. Just keep these small things in mind.
Okay, that will have to be the last question. But it's been an extremely enriching conversation. I just want to say one thing. This book that the family has written with a lot of love is available outside. There is no cost to it except that make a donation to
Datri. Is Datri organization here? Anybody from Datri? Yeah. So if you could just provide everybody, your barcode or whatever it is, they can come and take the book and they can all make a donation, a small donation, whatever it is. Don't look at the cost at the back, right? Whatever you can make, we will make a donation on your behalf to Datri, and we will do that. We have already done that, and we'll continue to do that. Please pick up a book, whatever you can, 50 rupees, 100 rupees, whatever you can, take the code from them and make a contribution. Whatever is coming out of this book, in India, it's going to Datri. In the Middle East, it's going to another organization. We are not going to benefit from the proceeds of the book, right? Everything is going to charity for the right reasons for blood cell cancer. So please do pick it up. It's outside, but make sure that you stop by and speak to a Datri person so that you understand where the money can be sent.
And
Yes?
the Datri people, please go and stand where the books are being sold. Okay? All right.
Okay, fascinating evening. Much of insights. I'm quite sure each one of you become more wiser to handle difficult situations. May I request Sundaram to step forward. Please. Yes, please. Yeah. Can you step forward as a program for application? Keep reading.